but Boilermakers, especially the students, are invited to be present. Riley, I believe, is that in the anniversary room of CMU?
I see. Right, I see her there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
So Riley, shall we get started now at 4 o'clock, or are we waiting a few minutes?
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Liz. I'm the project leader for this event through PSUB. I would like to thank everyone for attending this week. Welcome back, or welcome for your first time. This year marks the 70th anniversary of Books and Coffee. And if you'd like to be notified of all Purdue Student Union Board events, please feel free to follow us on social media at PSUB Events and ask us about any other information. If you are attending virtually, I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple links down in the chat. One of them is going to be the attendance link, so make sure you get yourself checked in there. And another one's going to be our trivia link for a chance to win copies of today's book. And we will contact those winners after the event. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to you guys to get started.
Great, thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Angelica Duran, the English Department Faculty Liaison for this, the 70th anniversary of Books and Coffee. For the next half hour, the special that we have in store for you is poetry reading. 4 English faculty members will read selections from books of poetry by our featured author, Louise Glick. Professor Marian Baruch will be reading from The House on Marshland, first published in 1975, followed by Daniel Morris reading from The Triumph of Achilles, first published in 1985. And then Wendy Flory will be reading from The Wild Iris, published in 1992. And Donald Platt will be reading different selections from the same book. So I am going to now link on to Marian Baruch and let her go. Go right ahead, Marian.
Okay. Hello, I'm Marian Baruch, as you just heard. And first, a boatload of thanks to Angelica Duran for organizing this year's Books and Coffee and doing such a spectacular job. I also want to say how honored I am to be thinking aloud about one of my favorite poets here, Louise Glick, with friends and former colleagues Don, Wendy, and Dan. So, as I read you this poem from Louise Glick's second book, please consider 2 things we love and cannot live without: clarity and mystery. They are what characterize everything Glick has written. Here's a secret. Poets start with either mystery or clarity and move toward the other as their poems surprise them and deepen, tighten up, release, finally vanish, but nevertheless keep going. And the best work? No feel-good, pre-digested cliche about how to live. Instead, you're right there, right now, deep into discovering as the poet did, as simple words reveal a shape and understanding. That's the spooky part. The poem as an independent creature and not exactly human. It's better than that. Louise Glick's All Hollow, as the first poem of her second collection, The House on Marshland, jumpstarts the book, which is to say you step out of your ordinary afternoon, pow, into its rich other life. Don't think, don't interpret, just see and savor what I've always called the beloved particulars, the hardcore living images, as real as daylight and dark. All Hollows. Even now, this landscape is assembling. The hills darken. The oxen sleep in their blue yoke. The fields, having been picked clean, the sheaves bound evenly and piled at the roadside among cinquefoil as the tooth moon rises. This is the barrenness of harvest or pestilence. And the wife, leaning out of the window, with her hand extended as if in payment, and the seeds, distinct, gold, calling, come here, little one. And the soul creeps out. Okay, I'm going to read this poem again. And this time, listen really closly to the silences, especially. I mean, pauses, the held breath, hesitations, the ache between words and lines. All hollow. Even now, this landscape is assembling. The hills darken. The oxen sleep in their blue yoke, fields having been picked clean, the sheaves bound evenly and piled at the roadside among cinquefoil as the tooth moon rises. This is the barrenness of harvest or pestilence, and the wife leaning out of the window with her hand extended as if in payment, and the seeds, distinct, gold, calling, come here, little one, and the soul creeps out of the tree. So can you see that? Can you see all this? The hills darkening, the sleeping oxen, the blue yoke, fields picked clean, such a familiar sight, and late fun is extended. The seeds she offers so mysteriously have a voice now, calling. Do you see those as well? Good. Hold on to these images. Let them work on you. First of all, can you see the soul answering? Feel its unearthly presence, that little one creeping out of the tree.
Thank you, Marianne. And now we get to move on to Daniel Morris. So I will unspotlight us.
Hey, that's a tough act to follow. Great job. So what I'm going to do is read the title poem from the 1985 collection of Glick, and it's called The Triumph of Achilles. And then I'm just going to read one brief quote from a critic about what the poem's about. And then in the second part, I want to say something a little more broadly about Glick and the idea of imaginative empathy, or the imagination and empathy, which is sort of a larger topic that I want to talk about in my second 5 minutes. So this will still just take a few minutes. So the short poem, it's called The Triumph of Achilles. In the story of Patroclus, no one survives, not even Achilles, who was nearly a god. Patroclus resembled him, they were trusted. Their source is the survivor, the one who has been abandoned. What were the Greek ships on fire compared to this loss? In his tent, Achilles grieved with his whole being, and the gods saw he was a man already dead, a victim of the part that loved, the part that was mortal. Okay, I'm just going to read like one short paragraph from a critic named Carolyn Malone, and she says in this poem that Gluck explores and creates the linguistic self through the mask of the legendary Achilles. Myth allows Glick the distance to approach what is most intimate and vulnerable, to love another human being. The godlike Achilles finds himself grief-stricken